Hello and welcome to What the Hey. Thank you for joining me to check out a video that someone suggested I react to, and that person was Clinchfield the Ghost Friendly. So hello to you and thank you once again for the request. And the actual content that I'm checking out today is titled The Trains of Super Mario, which was uploaded on April 19th of 2023. The video duration is 13 minutes and 7 seconds, and the video description provides a brief summary of context for the video's plot, timestamps for certain trains, a list of music that is included in the content, as well as a list of other social media links. The actual channel that uploaded this video would be AmtrakGuy365, and I'll have their channel tagged as well as the video I'm checking out linked in the description, so if you want to check the sources out for yourself, that will be provided there. Also in the description, if there's anything in this content that I feel like someone would like to be warned about, I'll mention that there. You can read it if you want to. You obviously don't have to. And last but not least, in the comment section, I'll pin a little comment with the different segments and timestamps of this video. So if there's something specific you want to check out, that will be listed there. But I believe that is all of the information stuff, so let's actually check out the video itself.
Trains probably aren't the first thing you think of when it comes to the Mario
I
franchise.
think of spaghetti.
Regardless, they've played some iconic roles in a few games.
That's scary.
But did you know that some of them have a real-life basis?
Oh, for real?
So,
don't they
just
all,
like
though,
in previous
technically?
episodes, I'll be taking a look at the locomotives, rolling stock, and railroad infrastructure seen throughout Mario's history, and compare them to their real-life counterparts.
That's very detailed. Interesting. Is that from the video games?
Admittedly, the majority of the trains in Mario games are pretty cartoonish looking with no real basis in reality.
That's video game
so I won't be
logic.
talking about those. The first proper train appearance in a Mario game would be in Mario Kart 64's Calamari Desert. According to the game's website, it's known as the N64 Express.
That's so fun.
I'll also be including
name.
its appearance in Mario Kart 7, 8 Deluxe, and Tour, as its design doesn't change much.
So they really
the steam
like
locomotive
this train.
is based on a 440 American type. 440 derived from the
gauge?
wheel arrangement.
Wheel
Four pilot
arrangement.
wheels up front, 4 driving wheels, and no trailing wheels.
So
This
each
particular
side
design
440.
would be developed in the 1850s, featuring a large smokestack, headlight, and cow catcher. It was popular with American railroads until the early 1900s,
Why?
coming to be associated with the Wild West,
Yeehaw.
fitting for Calamari Desert. The whistle in Mario Kart 64
Oh, we got the whole
sounds
sound
like
effect.
a 6 chime.
That's much lower
In
though.
7, it's one of Sierra Railway No. 3's whistles.
Fancy. That's very high-pitched, kind of.
Quick fun fact, this whistle has actually been used in several other pieces of media
Uphead.
because it comes from a Universal Studios sound effects library.
Ah,
And
gotta
in
use
8,
what you own. That's oh, that's like reverb echo-y. That's scary.
It also sounds like a 6 chime. The passenger cars are pretty generic looking, but I guess you could say they match American designs from the mid-1800s.
It's at least similar.
Also, for some reason in 8 and Mario Kart Tour, they gave the coaches side rods.
Why
I
not?
have no clue why, but it's
It
not
looks
accurate.
epic.
Anyway, in 64, the railroad crossing is a standard American design, but
Uh-huh.
the crossing bell sound is a Japanese variant.
Why? Is that because what they own? The
in
rights
7,
to
8, and
things.
Tour, the sound is replaced with a more accurate American mechanical bell.
I love the music. I love how like they're waiting at the stop to watch it, like to listen to that.
Ironically enough, though, the crossing signs are replaced with recolored Japanese designs. Last thing to mention is Luigi dies by the train in the Japanese Mario Kart 64
Rip?
commercial.
Hello?
And
R.I.P.
so does
for
Mario
real.
in this render.
It's literally the brothers. It's always the brothers. Paper
Next
Mario.
up is Paper Mario's K64 locomotive used on the Dry
It looks
Dry
similar.
Railroad. This one is probably more unintentional, but it kind of looks like this 062T built for the Nevada Consolidated Copper Company.
How though?
This
How do
type
you
is known
compare?
as a tank engine, as the water is stored
Looks
in a
like a
tank
tanker.
and the coal in a bunker on the locomotive, rather
Wow.
than a tender behind it. The K64, however, is missing a bunker for coal. The whistle,
That's so fun.
I think,
and
is
happy.
literally just a wooden toy train whistle.
Yeah.
Tank engines were used for switching, industrial areas with tight clearances, helping push trains up a hill, and hauling shorter trains.
We got good transitions. Okay.
Paper
That's like
Mario
a
the
bullet
Thousand Year
train.
Door gave
Hello?
us the iconic XS Express.
That's
Its
fancy
name
looking.
and mystery plot being a nod to the 1934 novel Murder on the Orient Express.
That's a good novel.
While the locomotive
Book.
is mostly freelanced, the nose design may have been inspired by high-speed Japanese Shinkansen trains
I was gonna say, it
or
looks very
American
fast.
streamliners from the 1920s and 30s. Based on the cab interior, it's likely meant to be a diesel. While the wheel setup may look unconventional, it actually is realistic. Kinda. The concept
How
of pilot
how
and
realistic
trailing wheels
can they
having
be,
coupling
though?
rods is used on Heisler steam locomotives. With the cylinders angled inward, a drive shaft and gears in the center power the wheels. This setup allows for increased power on cheaply built logging
Why
railroads
it
with
going
steep
backwards?
hills. The large center wheels on the XS Express also have some basis in reality.
Really?
Single locomotives were common on British railways in the
That
late
looks very
1800s and early
unconventional.
1900s. They were called this because of their pair of large driving wheels in the center, which allowed for faster speeds.
Really?
As for the coaches, probably just a generic design. While I'm
Yeah.
not totally sure what the developers were referencing when making the XS Express, it's still an interesting looking train.
It just looks nice.
Shy Guy's Perplex Express is a train theme board in Mario
Perplex.
Party 8.
I like that.
This is probably the least cartoonish looking train in the whole franchise. The
got
locomotive
shading.
sorta resembles a Japanese government railway's Class 9700, excluding the tender and wheel arrangement. In-game,
Yes.
the engine is a 464 and missing a tender. The
Uh-huh.
9700s were built in the US in 1897 and
Baldwin
exported
locomotive.
to
I
Japan.
know that.
There's also some Shy Guys on a handcar. These were
They going
used during
fast.
the construction of railroads and track inspection. They would be replaced by gas-powered speeders and then pickup trucks with railroad wheel
Why can't we all
attachments.
just like get around
The
like that?
coaches look like squashed versions of Eastern European designs.
Mario Kart is my favorite. I'm like the best at Mario Kart Wii.
Mario Kart 8 has quite the collection of trains. First up is the Animal Crossing track.
Aww.
You might have missed it, but in the background is a train slowly passing through. It's based on a Japanese government railway's Kiha 36900,
Yeah, it looks like
later
Studio
designated
Ghibli-y.
41000 diesel railcar. Initially serving as commuter engines, they were later relocated to more rural branch lines. They had a service life spanning from 1932, transferring ownership to JNR, until
Oh, those are
1969,
logos.
whereas
Okay.
others went to private railroads or were preserved at museums.
That's so pretty.
Next up is Toad Harbor. It's a San Francisco-inspired city with its hills
Mr.
and cable
Rogers'
cars.
neighborhood.
If you've
for
seen
real.
my Trains of Sonic video, you'll already be
Sonic.
familiar with these. If
I'm
not,
not.
San Francisco began cable car service in 1873. A central powerhouse pulls a cable located between the rails and beneath the road. A cable car
Really?
latches onto it and gets pulled along the tracks.
Whee!
A gripman uses a lever to slow down or stop the car. The Toad Harbor designs most closely
That's so
resemble
cute.
the
It's got the
California
hat.
streetcars, known as Cal cables, but have more rounded ends.
The
San
Mr.
Francisco
Rogers
still
cable.
sees cable car
That's what I'm gonna
service
call
today,
it.
and the fleet has either been rebuilt or built from scratch using the original designs. There's also a turntable to turn the cars
Oh.
around.
The
Moving
small
underground,
details
we get to the
matter.
Super Bell subway.
That looks
It's
like
a
Coconut Mall.
European-inspired track with trains running in either direction as you race on the tracks. You know, like a normal person would. The trains
Yeah.
appear to be a conglomerate of various European sets. Something you might not have noticed is the transit map in the station. It uses a style pioneered by George Dow of the London and
Wow.
Northeastern Railway in 1929.
How do you
It was
even
later
notice these things?
popularized by Massimo Vignelli in 1972 with his map of the New York City subway. Going back above ground, we see Mary Mountain has a flying Christmas train,
Christmas.
which
I
is a
like that.
cabless 440 American type. The only interesting thing of note
That's
is it
some
uses
black
the
magic for
iconic
real.
out-of-tune 5-chime whistle from Canadian National Railway number 3254.
Do we get to hear it? Yes. Yeah, that is very
We
generic.
now begin
that
our
sounds
world
like
tour with
a train.
Amsterdam Drift. First up is something that looks like a cross between a Dutch Railways Verm and Thalys PBKA. They entered service in 1994 and 98 respectively, and still operate today, with Thalys providing high-speed service from Amsterdam all the way to Paris. In-game, the train has its own colors and lacks
It's
the
going
overhead wires
so
to provide
slow.
power. Early in the race, you'll see it pulling into a station based on Amsterdam Central. At the end
Oh.
of the track, you'll encounter this tram.
I've been
seems
to
be a cross
Amsterdam and it
between
does
designs
look
from
like
the
that, at least a
1920s
little
and
bit.
70s. The number 14 seen on the model could be a reference to line 14 on the city's tram network.
Or it's just number
Bangkok
14.
Rush features a rather unique piece of Thai railroad, tracks that cut right down the middle of a public market, which exists
Don't
in
hit
real life,
anybody
might
for
I
real.
add. The Mae Klong Railway Market
Oh
has a
my
rail line
gosh.
passing through it.
They're all
When
like
a train
hiding.
arrives, vendors pull back their awnings and goods, and after the train passes, business resumes as
That's
normal.
fantastic.
In-game, the train idling just short of the market is an NKF diesel multiple unit, first built in 1985 Japan and exported to the State Railway of Thailand. Above ground, we see the BTS SkyTrain. Sitting at the
BTS?
station is a
Excuse
Changchun
me?
Railway Vehicles EMU set. As for the railroad crossing sign, it's pretty accurate, and so is the Mae Klong station. Heading back to Europe, Berlin Byways not only makes the
Why is there
Berlin
a
Wall
swamp
canon
right
to
there?
Mario, but has a train similar to the DB Class 420
I would have
and
never
DR
thought
Class
about that.
270. The
If the
racetrack
Berlin
takes
Wall
you
is
through
there?
Berlin Central Station where the train can be seen. They were built in 1967 and 87 respectively and saw service on the German S-Bahn network in East and West Germany. After reunification, they were taken over by the nationalized Deutsche Bahn rail network.
The fact that
Down
he has to
under in
pronounce all
Sydney
these
Sprint,
things.
toads can be seen throwing coins out of a yellow train. These are based on
That
the
could hurt
double-decker
someone.
Tangara, or T-sets. They entered service in 1988, first under the State Rail Authority, then City Rail, and now Sydney Trains. While the actual trains operate as electric
That's a
multiple
lot of them.
units, the Mario Kart versions are diesel multiple units, given the lack of an overhead wire to power them.
So they make them look that way because they
Paper
don't have
Mario
it?
Color Splash has the Sunset Express. It's another generic 440 American type.
Yeehaw, Western.
Concept art reveals it was originally going to be a 262 Prairie type.
Prairie dog?
The whistle
It sounds generic. It's got a little pop.
is likely a Japanese 5 chime.
How would you be able to tell? That's insane.
We see another hand car
Hey,
here,
going
but I've already
fast.
mentioned those earlier in the video.
Oh, so these
As
aren't
for the
special?
coaches, they seem to take inspiration from American passenger cars from
That's
the 1840s
long.
to the 60s. Interestingly, the couplers on the train look like ones from Tomy Toy Trains.
How would you tell?
There's a semaphore signal that stops the train. This signal type was introduced in 1842 on the London and Croydon Railway. They use an arm in colored glass illuminated by a light source to convey a signal. By the 1980s, many railroads had replaced them with all-electric signals.
Yeah.
But in some parts of the world
still
and
there?
at museums, you can still find them in operation.
Interesting.
Last but not least, I wanted to mention this rail fan Toad. He seems to have some unresolved emotional issues.
Oh, that's tough.
Okay, so this last train was supposed to be in the Mario Kart 8 section.
That's
I
a
forgot to
beautiful
include
Mario.
it, and it would be way too hard to rearrange everything to fit it in.
It is what
so
it
I'm
is.
just shoehorning it in here at the end.
Yeah, efficiency.
Mario Kart 8 also has this flying train on N64 Rainbow Road. The engine looks like smaller American locomotives from the late 1800s and early 1900s.
It's like lit up. That's cool.
These were built for lightweight or temporary tracks at logging camps, mines, construction sites, and industrial areas. The coaches are simply
That's so
freelance.
pretty looking. It's got like shines on there.
Alright, so that's all the trains
Oh.
I could find in the Mario franchise that look like they could have some kind of real life
Okay, that's
counterpart.
fair. That's fair.
If I missed any or you found a better comparison, let me know in the comments. Even though I like trains, I don't know everything about them.
Are you sure about
Like
that?
in Sonic games, trains in Mario can usually be fun stage gimmicks or set pieces. Even Mario himself has been plastered onto real-life trains
Mario?
for advertising. So, if you like this video and want to see me talk about other trains in video games, check out the rest of the series. I hope you enjoyed, and
It's
thank
a
you
me,
for watching.
a Mario.
See you next time.
See you too, I guess.
Thank you to my channel members, and special thanks to Mooter for subscribing to the
Woo.
Conductor tier.
Yeah. This is epic music. That's very nice. First and foremost, that was a lot of trains. With seeing this video, I don't even know why I haven't considered really what video games have trains, and I guess Amtrak has done like ones for Sonic and Half-Life or whatever. Like, I've never really thought about that, which I guess the whole thing is this guy likes trains or whatever, so he would notice if there are trains, but like I would never even think, like I think I've played Mario Kart 8 or whatever, and I didn't notice that train, so there's trains everywhere, I guess. Now, I know Amtrak Guy specifically said that he was only going to talk about trains that pretty much resemble legit trains, but there is one that I immediately thought of. So while I didn't necessarily grow up on Nintendo, like I've played a lot of Nintendo related games, especially as I've gotten older, the first train I thought of from my experience with Nintendo, like Mario games, is the one in like Super Mario Galaxy. I feel stupid if this is not legit, but my brain is telling me there's like a toy train at one point in one of the levels. Anyways, that's the train I thought of, but clearly there's a lot more. Which, when starting to discuss the quality of this video, in terms of the audio, it was very clear. I don't feel like anything was rushed. I didn't really miss anything that was spoken. Occasionally, I feel like there were a few peaks in the audio, but they weren't like super loud or like super glitchy at all, so it wasn't really a distraction. With the visuals of this video, I really liked how he included photos. There were videos of realistic trains, and he used examples of the trains that he was talking about, whether they were real or in the Mario game. So I like when he was like specifically talking about specific examples, he gave proof and was showing this is why this train looks like this train in Mario. Which I'm not exactly sure what ways Amtrak Guy used to kind of like solidify their reasons for why certain trains, you know, look like a specific realistic train, because there's so many different types of trains, so I feel like it's kind of hard to argue the case of this train is like this train. But then again, like he kind of said, most of the trains are cartoonish and not legit in nature, so you know, you can only make certain guesstimates based off of what you're seeing. But generally, some of those guesstimates were pretty spot on. The only ones I was kind of confused about were like the whistles, because I have no idea how you track like, oh yeah, they use this whistle because it's from like, you know, Japan or whatever, which like using the examples of the different signs, that's so interesting, like especially comparing like the American like US versus the Japanese like railroad signs and everything. I would have never picked up on that. Like, I think the thing I'm really impressed by is the fact that Amtrak Guy was able to like list all of that out and like make comparisons and like use examples of things. Like, it makes so much sense. I'm just not someone who would pick up on that, so it's all very impressive. And in general, with this video, the overall concept of finding like trains or whatever in video games is so cool. Like, you take something in real life and then it's in a video game. Like, having those two kind of topics in one video is so cool. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do this kind of video, so it's very unique. And me personally, I really enjoy history, so I really appreciated all of the different like years that were listed, and having different like photographs and like video evidence from different time periods and stuff. I thought that was really cool. Like, clearly there was a lot of research and effort that went into this video, so you know, I appreciate that quite a lot. So I think for me, it's just the overall idea of this video is cool, because you're taking like a specific niche for the most part, like trains, and relating it to something like video games, which I feel like there's a super big audience for video games and maybe a semi-smaller audience for trains, but the fact that you can combine them and talk about them for like whatever, 13 minutes, like that's so cool. Which, now that I think about it, with the video games I've played, the only train that I can think of is like in Barbie Horse Adventure, like Wild Horse Rescue or something, like a Barbie horse game, there's a train. Like, I can't think of other video games that use trains, so I obviously need to play better video games. But that's essentially the reaction, and once again, if you want to check the channel or the video out for yourself, those sources will be listed in the description, so they're there for you, but I believe that is it, so thank you very much for watching. Bye!